Here's a video that is important for anybody with shoulder issues, especially when going overhead. This video will help you prevent those issues if you watch this video before you get to that stage. It will also help you to heal again if you are experiencing shoulder issues, because the things that I will show you will reduce the stress on your joints, your tendons, etc. So let's talk about some of the muscles involved in movement of the shoulder joint, in particular going overhead, shoulder flexion. We got the anterior deltoid. The deltoid is 3 heads, anterior, posterior at the back, and lateral on the side. We are dealing with the anterior, the front, in shoulder flexion. That's one muscle. Then we have the biceps brachii, which is long head and short head. Now, it's important to know where these are attached, because that will give you an indication of, if you have an issue here where it's attached, that will tell you, hey, it's that muscle and this is what I'm doing. Now, those bicep brachii, the long head and short head, are attached to your scapula all the way at the back, so they go all the way through and attach there, the 2 heads, and then they go down. Now, your deltoid anterior is about here at the top, attached to your clavicle, and then it runs down, and laterally it attaches on the humerus around here, and the pectoralis major also ends there. There are again 3 heads for the pectoralis major. We're dealing with the clavicular head of the pectoralis, and that runs from the clavicle, so again that's attached here and runs down here to here. Then we got the coracobrachialis, which is a muscle that's on the inside and attaches around here on the inside. All these muscles come into play. They're the prime movers, or they assist with shoulder flexion right here. Now, the shoulder joint is one of the most mobile joints in the human body. So there's a lot going on there. You also got work around the scapula. The scapula helps stabilize everything. You got your rotator cuff, which consists of 4 muscles. You got your trapezius that's involved in stabilization, your rhomboids, etc. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that now. What I'm going to focus on is the overhead position. So especially with snatching, there can be issues. I'm going to focus on snatching, but this translates to other things as well, even jerks or presses, etc. So it's not just with snatching, but I'm just going to focus on snatching now. So some of the issues that can be caused by snatching is going too far. So if you're snatching with a swinging movement, you're creating a circle, a half circle, and that weight goes out and then it comes in. And with some people, they don't punch in here. They let that weight all the way come through, and then it takes your range too far. So that weight is going in and you have to stop it, or you don't stop it and it goes too far. So that's one issue, and I'm going to show you how to avoid that as well. Then obviously there is high volume, doing too many, too soon, too heavy, etc. So right here, if this arm is vertical overhead, that's a great position. I like that, but it's very close to your end range for most people right here. For me, this is very close to the maximum of my end range of shoulder flexion. So just imagine if you're going to your end range almost every time with snatching, and you get fatigued, you're going too far, you can't stop it in time, your technique is bad, you're going too heavy, doing too many, not resting, not recovering, etc. This is going to cause shoulder issues. So I'll circle back to this issue in a bit. The next one is rotation, a lot of rotation, shoulder rotation. Again, if you do something too many times, you're overusing it. And most of the issues will be in the tendons, because the tendons don't have a lot of blood flow, so they take a lot of time to recover. That's when it turns into tendonitis, overuse, etc. Going too heavy as well, jerks on the arm, jerks on those tendons, etc. So these are things that you want to avoid. Before you're going heavy, you need to make sure that your technique is right, your form and technique is right. There's no use in doing high volume or heavy weight if the technique is not perfect. So that's number one, obviously. Get your technique right. Okay, let's circle back to the rotation that I'm talking about. That bell, watch the thumb, comes through and then out, and then here it goes this way. That weight comes around, and then there's shoulder rotation right here. If that bell comes in violently, and it's a heavy bell as well, then there's a lot of work that needs to be done to stop that rotation. So imagine that bell coming up, and then it comes around the hand, and it goes this way. So you yourself try it out. Just stand there and do this. You'll already feel it at the back here in the muscles that are responsible for internal shoulder rotation. And you need to avoid that. So I'm not saying that it's always bad, but I'm talking about high volume, too heavy, incorrect technique, etc. It can also be bad if it's just overuse, repetitive use, always the same thing. And you're not conditioned gradually, that will also result in injuries. Okay, how to avoid the shoulder rotation. Watch the thumb, it's pointing forward. The bell is here. I'll show you in a bit with an actual bell, and I'll slow it down as well. So the handle is here in the hook grip, going back on the back swing, then upswing, ballistic flight. My thumb is still pointing the same direction. There is no rotation in the shoulder yet. If I would point that thumb in, that's already internal shoulder rotation. Okay, so we're here, no shoulder rotation. Then the bell goes up to the ballistic flight, open up, insert, catch, press out, right here. Now my thumb is pointing back. There was no shoulder rotation and no violent rotation at the top either. Right here, bang, now I let it drop. That weight falls here. Then I pull out, re-grip, and let the weight fall, fall, fall. Arm is extended, bell cannot go further. It goes through the legs, and watch, the thumb is still pointing the same direction the whole time. So that's the point. There is no shoulder rotation. If you're doing the snatch with internal shoulder rotation, I am not saying that that's a bad thing, because there are times when you want to use that. What I'm saying is, if you're having shoulder issues and you're doing a lot of rotation in high volume, and you're using heavy weights as well, it's something to look at. Avoid that rotation, because the less work that shoulder is doing, the more chance of letting that shoulder heal. So if you've already gotten to the point where your shoulder is injured, then you need to let it heal. Most people don't want to stop training, and this way you can still do something. You're taking out some work that the shoulder needs to do, and that's a lot of shoulder rotation. Okay. So we're here, overhead, drop, thumb is still pointing back, re-grip, arm extended, I stay in extension, back swing, and no internal rotation of the shoulder. Thumb pointing forward, through the legs, upswing, ballistic flight, thumb is still pointing up, re-grip by inserting the hand, and now the thumb is pointing back. No shoulder rotation. I know I just repeated myself, but it's good to hammer the point. So that is something to avoid shoulder rotation and overuse with those muscles. Now let's circle back to the first thing that I was talking about, which is shoulder extension overhead and avoiding going to that end range or close to it. So here I'm close to my end range and I feel a lot of work done by the deltoid. If I want to avoid that, I would need to bring it here. But if I do that, the weight is not resting on my skeletal system, it's resting on my muscular system. So that's not a good thing either. And that is the opposite effect of what we want. We don't want to add more stress to the muscles or the tendons. So I did say that we want to avoid going to the full range or close to it. And to avoid that, we go here. What we need to do now is involve our hips and involve our thoracic spine to get that arm vertical again, right here. So I'm squeezing my glutes, extending my hips. I'm pulling up the back, shoulder blades down, extending the spine. And that will bring my arm vertical. So that will save me some range. It will save me some work in the shoulder, but it adds work to the glutes. It adds work to the back as well. You need to be flexible in your thoracic spine. You need to be flexible in your hips. Otherwise, this is not going to work. Okay, so bear with me because I will show you what it all looks like with a kettlebell when you're doing it wrong and how to do it right. Now, if this video helped you in any way, please do leave a comment and share this with other people, because the more people we can help with these shoulder issues, the better it is for everybody. If you want to delve deeper into injury prevention, check out the book, Preventing Kettlebell Training Injuries, because there is so much more. This just delved into a little part of the shoulder. There's so much more to learn, guaranteed. There are so many more things that you haven't thought about, and some of them involve grip, racking, just obvious things, but they lead to a lot of injuries that can be avoided just by spending a little bit of time or a little bit of money into a book. Now, there are also courses that we have online, certifications, that teaches you all the basics and the foundation to build further upon. And we also have memberships available with over 200 workouts, follow-along workouts. Each workout has common mistakes, follow-along workouts, follow-along warm-up, follow-along cool-down, and we talk about technique. So there's a whole video that breaks down the technique. Then there's alternatives and progressions. But obviously the common mistakes and the technique videos is where you want to be. Those are super important for anybody that really wants to learn a lot. Just get the technique right and avoid injuries. So here's the tip that I spoke about, not going to full range or close to it when going overhead. So now I'm standing straight, my arm is vertical, and everything is aligned side on. And I like that. It's good. It shows that you get good range. But this does mean that every time I'm going to or near my max range. Here's how to avoid it. Right here. Hips, thoracic spine, pushing my chest out. Now my arm is still vertical, but I am not getting close to that max range of shoulder flexion. So here's the difference. Max or near. Again, you do need good hip flexibility there and good thoracic spine flexibility. If you don't have that, that's not going to work for you. I'll do this 2 more times. Let's look at the next one that I spoke about, which is the rotation of the bell. I'll do it with a light weight so I can just control it. What's the thumb? Internal shoulder rotation, then up. Now external shoulder rotation, then you go up overhead, then the bell goes this way, and right here is where it can go wrong. So if you get a heavy bell that just goes, try this with a light weight, just be careful because you'll feel it already. So if you make a mistake there with a heavy weight, doing too many, fatiguing, etc., you will injure yourself And if those tendons start getting aggravated, they take a long time to heal. So to avoid that, watch where my thumb is, back, then I drop, let the weight fall, let the base lead, then regrip, hook grip, thumb is pointing up, back swing, thumb is pointing forward, upswing, ballistic flight, which means the weight goes and I can let go, open up the hand, insert, press out, thumb is pointing back. No shoulder rotation or minimal. Of course, there's going to be stabilization in each direction. You can never avoid that. But you're taking out a lot of rotation. Okay, let's try it with a little bit heavier weight. Here we go. Thumb forward. Different direction. And always put your weight down with the same effort and the same technique that you picked it up with.